just moving around, and then I look, it was 10:02. Time flies. Whew. Alrighty, I am here. Gotta get all my stuff out. I am very disorganized today. Not very well organized. Good morning. Alright. Oh, God. Not cilantro. I'm gonna use that. Hola, buenas. Good morning. Hey, Miss Greta. Hey. I was trying to get some tea. Today I'm doing tea, Greta. I got that little frog in my throat. So we need some hot tea with lemon. Some fresh lime juice. Good morning. Actually, I slept. Usually when I start having a cold or something, it would keep me up and I would have to sit up, in my bed, and then, the coffee. That's why I ran to the store and got the haul. So anybody coming to see me, bring me some hauls. And, my voice still sounds kind of hoarse, but I'm feeling okay. Good morning. Yeah, I'm not bad. So I got some hot tea, green tea. I'm gonna put some slices of lime in there. So we are going to make our soup today. So I'll go over the ingredients with you guys so you can see what we're gonna be working with. I'm a little bit behind today, but I did get up and started the meat. I went to the store. I went actually on Thursday because days I'm just real busy. And I think it's a little bit hard for me to make time to go to the store, run back, and then do the classes. So I went and got some meat, but I needed the bone because I'm making a soup today, which is perfect because I have this little thing in my throat. So a soup is just what the doctor ordered. So I marinated the costillas, we call it, with fresh garlic, pepper. I had some fresh thyme in there and cilantro, salt, pepper, adobo, of course, acid. I put some little bit of white vinegar and then lime juice. And then I did have like some red pepper flakes that I put in there because, I'm Caribbean, so we need a little heat. So this I did last night, so it marinated overnight, so that's good. So now I've had it in the pot for about an hour. I want it to soften a little bit so that by the time I'm ready to put everything together, I want the meat to be really, really soft. So you can usually add some bones, but meat also, but I don't do meat like that, so I didn't. I'm like just enough to flavor. That's what I do with my okra. Well, I was really lucky this week. I found okra in 2 places. So I did okra last week when I did that bowl. So today I still have some okra. I'm gonna put some of that in my soup. Why not? Because I can, right? So I'll take all the ingredients for you so you can see. We do finish off with some vermicelli, angel hair, right? And some, boy, I have a thing full. Some penne pasta. This soup has penne pasta. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of that soup because it's quite interesting. We have cabbage, repollo, carrots, we need carrots, more garlic. We need fresh parsley, I got. I have a little bit of, that's what you do. When I come into my kitchen, I look to see what I have that I have to use and get rid of it before it goes bad. You don't do meat. Oh, who is that? we haven't had one of you on my live before. Am I a lesbian? No, I'm not. But you need to go. All right. Let's see. Okay, carrots. We need carrots. All right. No, I have some green onion left that I need to get rid of. It looks really good. I'm gonna add it to my soup. I have some leftover calabasa, so I'm gonna do that first because when I'm making this soup, the best way to do it, I like to roast my calabaza squash. So we're gonna start with that. Let me just get some lemon, some lime in my tea, and we get going. Wash my hand at the same time. So this soup, you know, I made some sancocho for the sister this week who said she had been sick. But, you know, who makes me sancocho? I make my own soup. But I have so many soup recipes because I'm a soup nut. But this soup, this is what we call soup Joumou. This is a traditional soup of the Caribbean country of Haiti, where I was born. And this is a soup that we make every January 1st to celebrate Independence Day. Independence Day, when the slaves arose against their oppressors and they were able to chase them out, right? So in celebration, we use squash and they put vegetables and meat and put it all together. So a lot of people, hi, wondering how you feel retiring from nursing now. Do you miss it? Not really. I'm also a nurse. Are there nursing opportunities? Not if you retire. You cannot work for a Panamanian company or hospital because nursing is considered what we call a protected profession in Panama that is reserved. So anything with law, medical, and a lot of it, there's a long list that I have that I can send to you if you're interested. But pretty much everything is restricted to foreigners. Now, if you are young, if you are retired, you're not allowed to work, period, right? But in some instances, we work with your attorney, you can get what they call a work permit. But people who are young and they want to work, if you can keep your employer from over there, you can work here, but they're not paying you here. You just can't work for a Panamanian company, all right? So that's why people can do remote work. If you can do like something like case management as a nurse practitioner, I was looking to do some telemedicine, but that hasn't panned out. In that way, you can. Anything that is remote or online, you can. All right? So let's go back to the story of the soup. So let me turn the oven on. Okay. So the slaves, when they revolted and chased away or killed their oppressors, that's what we do. We eat soup or do we drink soup? Can somebody tell me? I never know. I'm like, do we eat soup or do we drink it? If there is a linguist in the room. All right, so we are going to roast our squash. We call it calabasa or we call it zapillo. I think I saw zapillo. Sapillo. The Z is pronounced like an S. I know, Greta, you're watching. So that you're my student, sapillo, okay? But I thought if they were all called calabasa, but I guess not. All right, so we are going to roast our squash. And we know that the squash, it cooks really fast. Let me see if I can put this in the back burner and we can get this area free. Get my tea. Now see, I can drink unsweetened tea. It's just coffee. I don't know. Still working on that one. So the way you make this soup, all right? So there is a version of it from the from the DR, the Dominican Republic. They use 7 types of meat. We don't do that. Usually we use beef. We don't use pork for that. So, you know, some cubed beef and then some bones, right? I have cooked it with some chicken myself. So you can use your, you can choose whatever meat you want. And then you're gonna have to, the way I used to do it at home is like you boil the squash, then you mash it, then you strain it, right? So you get this gorgeous yellow liquid. Oh, I have to go get my my stock. It was frozen. I forgot to take it out, so I have it sitting out there on the patio. I have to go get it. That's so funny. And then we put celery, apio. We put, you can put peppers, pimiento, turnip. I haven't been able to find turnips here, but sometimes we put, oh, what do they call that little thing? The red, I can't remember it, but it's, I forgot what you call it. Then you put potatoes, you put cabbage, repollo, and then, so now you bring everything in and it's looking good and it's tasting good. And then towards the end, you add the penne pasta. And then once you turn the thing off, then you put some vermicelli. That's it, right? But everybody may have a version of it in the Caribbean. Because remember that a lot of our food in the Caribbean and in the Americas come from Africa, right? And a lot of our dishes, especially in Haiti, Dominican Republic, everywhere in Puerto Rico, even here in Panama, a lot of the dishes were created by the slaves from scraps because, you know, they didn't have access to the meat. So they just, because I remember when I was growing up, when they killed the chicken, we the kids, we would take the tripes, we would clean them and do something with them. You know, that's the chitlin stuff, which, you know, I haven't had that. You know, like they'll take the pig feet here, they make sow. Yesterday I was teaching this girl and I was telling her about, she just was lapping it up because sow is made with pig feet that they pickle here. But we know that in the US, what do black people eat on New Year's Eve? It's pig and black eyed peas, right? So it's just that we have inherited from our history, we have to be very inventive, right? To find things to eat because we were not allowed to eat what the masters were eating. And in many ways, they're still trying to give us scraps, right? Okay. Well, you know, I don't go political on my station, but I'm saying, on my channel, I'm saying that sometimes the reality of our situation or what we've dealt with can be really depressing and overwhelming. And then I have to think that, you know, our forefathers, the people who came before us, they suffered a lot more and then they survived so we can be here. So we don't have a choice. We cannot give in. Otherwise, it would negate their sacrifice, right? Good morning. I've been missing the live due to attending church. That's okay, Jewel. It's good to go to church too. Good morning. Hola. Do you... Callaloo, you know what? I don't know. And I'm not saying we don't, because this is not something we had something we call lalo, and I think that's what you guys call callaloo. So they might have it. I'm not saying we don't. And especially if I were to go somewhere in the Caribbean, because, you know, in Panama here, if you go to Colon, you're gonna get mostly Jamaican influences. If you go to Bocas del Toro, you're gonna get influences from like Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados, because you know their music, they're into calypso, so the food can be a little bit different. So I haven't been looking for callaloo, and I know they wouldn't call it that here, right? But that's something we used to cook too. And I watched this girl from somewhere in South Florida cooking for callaloo. Oh my gosh. You cook that with the meat and you put it over some white rice. Woo! Lord Jesus. I tell you, that food is no joke. All right, so let's roast this. I'm just getting the I'm getting this and putting it in the trash, right? The seeds, pumpkin seeds. I don't know. I don't eat that. But here in Panama, they have this sauce, which is the pickle. You know, I was like, is it cow foot or is it pig feet? And then I looked it up yesterday. It says pig feet. I'm like, oh, I haven't been able to eat it yet. It's a work in progress. Hola. South Africa. I love South Africa. Yes, that country is just absolutely stunning. Stunning. But I was in Limpopo province, so they limit. I was with the Peace Corps, and we were in jail. They wouldn't allow us to go on our own to go to other places. And with the Peace Corps, if you took it upon yourself to go places, to go places they told you you were not supposed to go, you could be dismissed and sent home. So we had to be careful. You know, the Peace Corps, it was like you were in the Marine, you know. The only thing we didn't do were the push-ups. But they had rules and rules and rules. That's a bit much. But it is what it is. And my good friend, Florida, her name is Florida. She's just about done. So she started in 22, and now it's 25, and she's done. So she stayed the course. But I think she's from, is it Malawi or Liberia? So she was a little bit more comfortable with everything that was going on. Unlike me, you know, the spiders and the outhouses were getting to me. I was like, oh, I can do it. I could not do it. And I probably would have done it if my blood pressure wasn't going on. I was stressed. And I was like, how am I supposed to be serving and then I'm stressed out? No. You see, I have a stroke while I'm in the Peace Corps. No, man. Self-preservation. All right, so I'm cutting them in small cubes. And then once they are cooked, I'm going to blend them in the blender. The key to making good soup, we call it soup Joumou, you have to have good squash, okay? And sometimes, I used to cheat. I'll buy the squash, and if the squash is not nice and buttery and you know, orange, then I would have 1 can of frozen squash to kind of make up for it. Hola, travel, not Frank. Buenos dias. Yep. Yes. So I'm trying to think what else. Radishes, that, you see, this is what I have with my brain. When I forget something, it will come back to me like after a few minutes. Sometimes it's the next day. Kenya, oh wow, that's amazing. You know, I watched Travis Culture. This girl, her name is Kia, she's doing relocation. And then I watch, what's that girl? She's been wearing some blue lipstick. I forgot her name. The residential tours, I watched them last night. So lots of people in Kenya. I wanted to visit this year, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And you know, I was watching the news yesterday. Well, I think it was on TikTok. They were showing. You know, I went to Machu Picchu this year, like done, and a bunch of visitors were stuck because the locals were protesting. You know, when I was there, and I took that overnight bus, and all over when I was doing research, they said, you know, you could get caught up in a protest where the locals get on the bus and you get robbed. And so I just said, well, let me take my chances. So I was lucky. It was a 23-hour bus ride overnight. That's crazy, Maggie. And you know, we went through the Andes Mountain throughout the night. I stayed awake the whole time. I loved it. But they had like almost 2,000 people stuck. Couldn't go anywhere because they stopped the train and they stopped everything. And that Machu Picchu, let me tell you, it is always bombed with so many people. So the people, finally, I think the police came and they were able to resume the train. Because there's a train you got to take to this little town, Olia Matumbo or something, and then you got to have the buses to take you up to the mountain to see Machu Picchu. It was just something I wanted to do. It wasn't my bucket list, but I don't think I would want to do it again. No. Yeah, there's a little girl also from Kenya. Her stuff, I think she just got on YouTube. They say she used to be on TikTok, and her stuff started showing up on my wall. I'm like, oh, little girl, go away. We don't think alike. You don't need to be on my feed. I think if this algorithm is supposed to be so good, and if I say I don't like something, why would you keep showing it to me? I don't get it. We all have freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, but if I don't want to hear it, I don't have to listen to it. Right? Kenya, awesome. I think that should do it. Yeah, I think that's enough squash. Sapayo. You hear, Greta? Sapayo, when I ask you. That's why I like this little knife. It's just the right knife for me to peel this squash, because the skin can be hard. But you know what? You go to the store, you buy them already pre-cut, vacuum packed. So you don't have to go through this, okay? You get everything vacuum packed except regular potatoes. They have yam, they have what's the other one thing that I like? They put carrots, and sometimes, wow. Oh, I have to get I'm gonna rinse them up. I'm not gonna let that go. Ooh. Oh, wow. You see why you have to be careful with your knife? All right. So, and squash, I'm not going to use my herb oil. My herb oil is fresh, and I don't need to do that for this, okay? So, this goes in the oven. It's on high, so it shouldn't take long. And then we are going to peel our veggies and be ready for them. Now, when you're making soup, apio, celery, and carrots are just a given, right? You should always have those. That's why I always have carrots in my in my kitchen, always. And I like to just peel it and just eat it. Hola, Wilma. Yes. So it's good to do. But I've decided I'm gonna add some okra to my soup today. But okra is not something that we usually add to our soup. Usually it's turnips and sometimes rutabaga and the radishes, the little red radishes. I don't think I've seen that here. So if you don't have it, then I don't need it. How you guys doing? So good for your throat. Excellent. So try to enjoy making your own food. You don't have to go somewhere and have someone serve you something that is not done to your standard. You don't know how clean the kitchen is back there. They may not wash their hands. I told you, when you go to a restaurant, you put in your life in somebody else's hand. Okay? And you and I know that people can die from foodborne illnesses. And the majority, you know, when I was in culinary school, I think the second class we took, well, the first class was about the history of the culinary, I don't want to say science, but it's all scientific and physics. And because I went to Cordon Bleu, it originated in France, so I had to give you the history about the chefs or whatever who created it. And the next thing that we had to do was learn about foodborne illnesses. Things like, you know, hand washing, salmonella, and all the different Latin names they had for these diseases, you know, because, you know, people who love to eat raw oysters, it depends on where they get them and what time of the year. It's like, well, you know, I got sick a little bit from eating clams one time, and that was the one time I was like, no mas, no more. And certain fish, and you know, they showed you how to buy fish, you know, how to see if they're fresh. And then when you think about when you buy something from a supermarket, right, they get it from the farm, and then how long it takes them to transport to a place, and then they have to do things to it to make sure it stays clean, and then it's on that truck traveling on the highway. And you got to check temperatures, right? And if the most of the foodborne illnesses are due to food not being kept at the right temperature, period. Okay? And when you are reheating food, that's also an area where you can get sick. So I think one of the most dangerous food in the kitchen is chicken. Okay? And people don't think about rice being dangerous. Rice can be dangerous too. All right, so just try not to be eating food that is being kept outside in the wild, not refrigerated, and then when you're refrigerating, you have to bring it up to a certain temperature. So here in Panama, I say your risk of getting sick might not be as high as going to a third world country where everything is not clean. People say the water is clean here in Panama to drink, but I boil my water that I drink. Just me. I don't boil water to cook with because the heat kills a lot of things. When I was in South Africa, I boiled my water. So I kept the same practice. I don't, I boil it in here. I always have water in here. I boil it and let it cool off and then put it in the pitcher. And that's what I use. Now, I usually have bottled water in my refrigerator for when I have guests, but I won't drink that. When you go to the Mercado or some other restaurant and they are bringing you, your fried fish with patacones, that heat kills a lot of things. And then you say, ensalada? Yeah. You say yes. And then the ensalada, I was telling the girl yesterday, it's usually something that looks like coleslaw, right? So coleslaw, what's in it? Mayonnaise, dangerous. So sometime I'll go to an event here in Panama. Like I went to this thing at Mi Pueblito, and then everybody was selling food, but it was so hot. And the First thing in my mind was like, oh my God, this food is sitting out here in this heat. Danger, danger, danger. No, no, you know I didn't buy any. But I tell you, I was encouraged. One time I was watching the news here, and they were showing that the Department of Health does make some inspections to those funders. And I was like, ooh, that's good. Because I don't know what's happening back there, do you? No idea. Yeah. I cook my food. And I'm telling you guys, when I cook here on Sunday, the rest of the week, it's just like little things here. I might get, like last night, I cooked some quinoa with edamame, and then I put some turmeric in it and some curry powder. So I got the quinoa, and then I got my protein, so I'm good. I will toss some of these really quick in some herb oil, and I'll put, chop some tomatoes, and I'm good. Or if I crack a couple of eggs, I'll put tomatoes. And that's what I eat the rest of the week. I don't really eat. So I have leftovers that are left from what I cook on Sundays. Yeah. Now the celery here, you see how beautiful it is? In a couple of days, these leaves are going to be like, woo. So when you buy things here, you have to cook them kind of rather fast. Otherwise they go bad. That's why you don't need to go to the store and do like a whole week's worth of shopping. You don't need to do that because things don't last long. And these leaves, I cook them. I don't throw them away. Don't throw it away. Clean them up and then season them and put them in your food. So last week I bought a bunch of beets, remolacha. Remolacha. That's what they call beets. And so I have that. I still have another carton of okra, but I'm going to put okra in my soup today. So I'm going to take the leaves, chop them up, put them on the side, and then I'm going to add them to my soup towards the end because I don't want them to overcook, right? Yes. I remember years ago I was reading that when you eat raw celery, it's good for your blood pressure. Just like they say hibiscus tea is good for your blood pressure, but as I always say, you know how skeptical I am about all these. Everybody comes with something new. Like all of a sudden, like, oh, we have this super herb. I'm like, what is this super herb? Rosemary. I'm like, okay. Oh. So the meat is cooking. So I want it to be, somewhat soft before I add my thing. Oh yes, it's good. Oh yes, perfecto. That's what I want. I don't want it to be overcooked, but I wanted it to be soft enough so that, because the soup, once I put the squash, the puree in there, maybe 30 minutes, okay? And of course, everything is about timing when you're cooking, right? Because you don't want certain things to be overcooked, you don't want something else to kind of disappear in your soup, no bueno. So watch your time, okay? Let's see this whole thing. Prepping, I love it. And that's what I did when I was at Disney. Oh my God. Except when you're working in a restaurant like that, there were like a lot of pressure about time. So you got in and then you had your list of what you were supposed to do. Sometimes it's like, I had to do like 12 boxes of lettuce, and they have the machine to peel the vegetables, and You could not sleep on the job. It was like fast, fast. Because in restaurants, the margin of, what's the word I'm looking for? The profit margin is very low. Because food costs, running a restaurant, listen, you need to show respect for your restaurant because they do a lot. There's a lot of government regulations they have to follow, especially if you want to run your restaurant the right way with the temperature. I remember when I had my little restaurant in Florida, I would, you have like the, what would you call that? What do they call those? It wasn't the counter, but it was the cool area where you do your prep. So you have all your lettuce and you have your everything that you're gonna put, in sandwiches and stuff. So cool in the cooler, you put it here, and then you come up in the morning, and the temperature gauge says 74, and you need it to be 62. So it's like you have to throw away all that food. That's awful. The stress, my God, that I went through with this restaurant. I remember getting there on a Saturday, and then I had a water leak. Something had busted. So I'm standing here cooking in like a foot of water. Oh my God. Someone told me I need to tell the story of my life because it's interesting. And it might just be fun and encouraging to you to see that we've all gone through something, sis. We don't get to live to be this age without having gone through some stuff, right? Yes, it was awful. And then we used to do a lot of corporate, not catering, but they would call, give their orders for breakfast. So we would go and send breakfast for 12 people, and I had to be the one to do it because a lot of my chefs get hired, and they just were not up to my standard. If they start getting stressed, people are standing there, people are like, we need to go to work, hurry up. You have to be able to handle that kind of pressure, and a lot of them could not do it. So I'm putting some green pepper in my soup. That's always good. It's gonna give me a nice color contrast with the carrots. So I want that. And so it was interesting. So I was always giving money, paying for this, fixing that. And then we opened like 6 to 2. After 2, you had to clean, not just the dining room, but everything that you had used. Then I had to put my gloves on and scrub the, what do we call that? The grill, right? So, and then I had my list of things that were missing, because every time you go in the cooler, we had a walk-in cooler with stuff, and you would say, we need this, we need that. Then I had to get in my car, maybe like around 4 or 5, then go to Sam's or another place and get my stuff, go back to the restaurant, drop everything off, right? And then go home. By the time sometime I'm getting home, it's like 7 or 8. 4 times I bumped a car in front of me, coming to a traffic light, and I'd fall asleep and bump a car. And then finally one day I said, you know what? If I don't do something, I'm gonna kill myself. So I ended up, I was gonna move out of my house to get closer to the restaurant. But I'm so glad I didn't get to doing that, because when we lost the lease, when the owner came and said that he had decided to lease it to a doctor, they were going to retrofit it, and he basically kicked us out. Woo, ladies, when I tell you that was hard, I've had some hard moments in my life, but I have to tell you that was the hardest, because I was getting older, and that was going to be my last song. That was going to be my last project. Yes, that was going to be my last project. And then when that fell through, I was broken. I spent 2 months sitting at my kitchen table nursing my wounds, because all my money that I had made from selling my my agency, poof. And I told you I was almost ready to sell my house and move closer to the restaurant, but then I didn't do that. I'm like, oh, thank God. But then I had debt, and oh my gosh, yes, that was hard. That was horrible. So I sat there at that kitchen table and I ate myself into oblivion. I was eating cheese and bacon and the rest, a few things that I had kept from the restaurant. You know, when oh my God, I had a kitchen that was so big and I had pots and pans. I didn't have anywhere to go with them. So I left all that in there. I had retrofitted the restaurant. All that money was down the pike. And you know, I was in debt from the restaurant because I kept saying, you know, you're getting close to your break-even point. You're gonna make it, and then poof, the carpet, the rug was, you know, pulled right from under me. So I remember one day I woke up and I said, okay, Maggie, the pity party is over. What are you gonna do now? You know, when they say you have to brush yourself off and you keep going, that's what I had to do. So I even told my daughter, I said, you know, I've had a pretty good life. I've done some things in my life. I had never failed at anything. And that was a lesson in humility, in you don't know what the future holds. It was a lesson in you can prepare as best as you can, but the outcome may not be what you expect it to be. And then how are you going to come up after a loss? I mean, I wasn't 30, I wasn't young, and to just kind of lose what you had, that was hard. Even now when I think about it, you know, I get teary-eyed. But I think God allows things to happen in your life to keep you humble, right? So that you don't think you're all that. Because I realized I'm not all that. I was on my way. I had a nice chunk of money. Poof, gone. Just like when I got fined $1,000, and it was my thing. It's like, well, you know, it was my money. I was blessed that I had it to lose. I did not borrow from anybody. So I'll start over. And that's when I went back to school and became a nurse practitioner. Yep. So when I talk about shifting, I know what I'm talking about, okay? That means sometimes you plan, you're on your way to do this, and then boom, you had a crash, and then you have to detour. That's what life teaches you. To be flexible. Don't equate that failure of whatever it was with who you are. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So whether it's divorce, and then the divorce came after that. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I love Kelly Clarkson. She's got soul. But anyway, that's part of my story. And then I'm doing my nurse practitioner. When I went to school, I was telling the ladies that it was hard for me because my brain, I had done this nursing thing. I wasn't going to go back to that. And I had to go back to school. And my brain, it was like, are you still there? Wake up, wake up. Imagine in your 50s, late 50s, going back to school after you hadn't been in school since you were in your 20s. And then everything was different. The way they ran the classroom was like a theater. I was like, woo. Teacher wasn't talking to you, was just teaching, and you had to keep up. Every kid had a laptop. Nobody was taking notes. And then when they're like, did you say it on Blackboard? And like, Blackboard, what is that? I don't see a blackboard. That's not what you're talking about. It's not the blackboard that my teacher wrote on and I had to wipe it after her. No, not that blackboard. Oh, she wasn't just the science, it was the technology. I was just challenged with that. I was like, oh my God. But like I tell my students, my Spanish students, I said, you know what? I was against a wall. I didn't have a choice. I made a decision, that's what I was gonna do. And I was like, by golly, I'm gonna make it work. By golly, I'm gonna do it. And I did. That first semester was rough. I didn't think I was gonna pass. And I'm a straight A student. Well, used to be a straight A student. But when I saw how challenged I was, you know, I used to write beautiful 10, 12 page papers, like in a matter of hours. And they'll tell me to do a report about something, and I slaved over it. And I'm like, oh my God, my words. How do I write this? Listen, it was hard. That very first semester, I think I barely did. I had some C's. I never had C's in my life. But I was like, okay, Lord, next semester should be better. And it was. And I graduated. I had to be, you know, when you're in teams, I was in team with this 20-year-old. Do you know how hard that was? And you have a group project and you're dealing with 21-year-olds. Mm-hmm. You should feel sorry for me. It was like, oh my God, what is happening? But you know, life is a classroom. I say you have to learn from your experiences, take the lesson and run with it. That's what right now I can encourage people, and I can tell you, you don't have the option of giving up. It's not an option. Giving up is not an option with everything that we're going through right now. And I am proud to say that I live a life of, in front of my kids. They might say my mom wasn't rich, but she taught me about I'm getting ready to cry. I don't want to do that. Woo. Kindness, empathy, hard work. Like the getting back up after you've been slapped upside the head. Because that's what life's going to do to you. And if you're not careful, you're going to become better. But what you do, you take the experience and you grow from it. That's like when I was in culinary school. It was never the cooking part for me. I'm ADHD, so oh yeah. To keep from falling behind everyone else, I went in the morning class. Oh, I can only imagine. Oh my God, yes, I can imagine. You know what? I remember this little man, I think he was a chef. Cordon Bleu was this very hierarchical type of, organization. And they had all kind of dysfunction going there, of course. And I felt there was a lot of waste, and that's why they ended up shutting down the school. They were just wasting too much money. When you went into that kitchen, into those coolers, my God, the stuff, the butter. I mean, they were spending like crazy. And of course, people were taking things home. They were, like if you have a restaurant, you need to budget for people to steal from you. That's a line item, right? Because people would tell me they would have a restaurant and they would go in the back of the, what is it, the place where they put the trash, and they would find boxes of wine and everything. People are just so crooked. Not only would they eat you out of house, they would, take a big thing of ham and hide it, and oh, there's a lot of that going on. So the theft, ooh, okay. I think, ooh, look how beautiful. All right, let's see. If they're cooked, I'm just gonna put them in the fridge just for a second, just so they can cool down. Just a tad. Some of it is cooked, and the rest of it is a bit hard. These are a little bit hard. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take those out. I had two different pieces of squash. So they're not the same. So these, I'm gonna put them in the microwave for a little bit and have them, but the rest of them are cooked. through. Nice. Ooh. Yum, yum, yum. I absolutely love squash. And then it's a little bit sweet, so that's yum. All right, I'm gonna put it in the fridge just for a second, okay? Yes, going to culinary school, I was the oldest, of course. It's like, what are you doing here, Mom? And then this man, this old, I think it was, he was maybe about my age. And he was from the regional or whatever, so he came and, we were standing there. You go to culinary school, before you go into the kitchen, the chef does one of those inspections that they did when I was in primary school to look at your jacket. You had to have your cravat, which is where you put it around your neck so you don't sweat into the food. And then your hair had to be back, just like, I'm a nurse, so I'm used to that. And you put your cap. I remember this guy, we had some young men, and he came and he had a beer, and the chef is like, get out of my kitchen. You're not gonna be cooking with, you couldn't have beer. And after a while, people were kind of starting to talk about discrimination or whatever. Then you had to buy a beer guard. They had to put something, to cover. Because it's true, their hair. That's why when I'm cooking, you're not gonna see, I don't have hair anyway. But one day I was watching this girl on TV, and she's talking about, she's a chef, and I'm gonna put that in the microwave for a bit. Yeah, she was cooking, and then she had her hair going up. Oh, I couldn't help myself. And I'm like, chef, what's with the hair? You know better. So he tells me you did not go to culinary school, because we don't allow that in culinary school. I mean, this is not a fashion show. You're talking about people finding your hair in their food. Gross. I just went looking for butternut squash yesterday and sugar pumpkin. Did you find it? I finally found one. So I'm going to leave it, and then we will make a butternut squash, because, this is fall, and we want to make everything fall. All right. So we're gonna bring our soup dish. That's another thing I'm gonna ask someone coming over here is to buy me somebody brought me the cast iron, so thank you. Okay, I forgot her name. But I need a Dutch oven. So I'm gonna pay somebody to bring me that. Because this is as close as I could find something. But it's just not the same. It's not the same. You need your Dutch oven, right? And of course I'm trying real hard not to start accumulating stuff. All right. So we're gonna so what I do here, once my meat is cooked, I'm gonna skim over and get any extra fat from the meat, because I don't want that in my food, okay? So I usually skim over. It doesn't have a whole lot. But you see, like a little bit like that. I take it off. Because you don't want your food to be oily. And when somebody is cooking, I can tell if they're classically trained or not. See? We don't need that in our soup. But when I tell you I love being in my little cafe, oh my God. Every so often, I think about it here. That, well, maybe Maggie, you could do that. But when I remember the work I had to put in, washing dishes, washing the grill, and The first time I got a job at, what is it? Where Joumou is at Disney. That was my Was it my first year right out of school? And they told me to clean to get the oil because you have a thing this deep. You pour the oil in, and then it's plugged in so that you can do your French fries and all that kind of stuff. But after a while, you have to dump the oil because if it's old, and then it goes into like this hole in the back of the kitchen of your restaurant, and then a machine, a truck comes and sucks it out. So you had to pay for that. Then you had to pay for a company to come and clean all the vents and everything. It's like money, 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 money. Okay? So that's why when you go into a restaurant, they have to do speed is the name of the game. When they say how many covers, that means how many dishes you go into whip out. So you do your prep, a portion of other things. You know, you put things in a little bag. So that when they say I want this dish, the cooks just pick this little bag and it was like it's all portioned and weighed. And that was what I did as a prep cook. It was fun. It's really fun. Who is he? Your husband? Oh. But listen, people don't have respect for cooks. That's a hard job. And it's a very dysfunctional. If you've ever read the book by Anthony Bourdain, who killed himself, unfortunately, suicide is quite common in those circles. But in a kitchen, it could be very dysfunctional. They're doing coke, they sleeping, having sex in the cooler, all kind of craziness. And then they work so hard. When they finish cooking all this beautiful food, then they'll go home like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, go to a bar and have hamburgers and fries and all the unhealthy stuff. So a lot of cooks are not healthy looking, are they? All right. So I am going to throw these in. Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna rinse my okra. That's gonna go a little bit later because I don't ever want my okra to overcook. And that's when it gets slimy. That's when we don't want that. Ooh, so good. So pretty looking. All right, let me bring this camera closer. One of these days, I'll have somebody to record for me. Sophia, oh, okay. There's a song I saw some kids from South Africa singing. Oh my God, just amazing. All right, ladies, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna turn this down, cover it up. I have to go fetch my my stock from the patio. Alright, so it's not all thought out, but I can just dump it in there. Okay. So now I'm gonna get my squash so it's nice and cool. I didn't want it to be too hot in the blender, so I'm gonna blend with some water. Now see, I could sit here and eat that. Yum yum. Okay. So good. I could also use a potato masher, right? All right. I'm gonna pause it first. That's it. And then we're going to strain that and put it in my soup mixture that is getting, okay, where are we? Right here. Okay. Because the carrot is not going to take a long time to cook either. But when you put it in there like that, it's just getting all that good flavor. Sabor, sabor, sabor. I'm all about that. You know that. Alright. So. You know, it looks so good. I'm probably going to put some of it in here like that. And then I'm going to strain the rest of it. Because I do want it to have a little bit of texture. Right? But what you don't want to do is put the whole thing in here without straining it, because then it gets too thick. Okay? So we're going to put that in here and add a little bit more water and thin it out. Well, you know, when you do your butternut squash, you don't strain it, right? But we strain ours. I think one of the challenges in making this soup is that some people make it too thick. Yeah. So I'm getting a little bit more water. Okay. You just have to think of texture, right? So you could see how it is already a little bit on the thick side. So that's when I'm going to add some of my stock. Okay. Because in here, what I'm gonna have left now, I'm very happy with the color, okay? I don't need to add anything else to it. So we're gonna bring it to a boil because we have potatoes, and then we have the pasta, and then we have the repollo, which is the cabbage, and then we have to add our okra. So we need to bring this to a boil, and then that's where the magic starts. All right, let me rinse my okra. We'll be ready. So, you guys have any questions? Okay, I want to be sure I'm using the rest. That's not even the rest. That looks like a whole green onion or leek. I thought I had a, not the big one. Repollo. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Friday with the channel members, after we did the exercise, we did a frittata. I don't know if you saw that. Yes, Jill, it's gonna be amazing. You wait, man. And then with this soup, you don't need anything else with it because it's already got the carbs. I have some potatoes I'm gonna put in here. So I'm gonna cut them and put them in like a little bit of water with a little bit of acid because otherwise it's gonna get brown, right? You gotta remember that when you are peeling potatoes. So now what I'm gonna throw in here before it starts boiling, you know, I'm Caribbean, I'm gonna put a whole Scotch bonnet just for the taste that comes from the skin. We don't want it to open because we don't want it to be hot, but we always do that. And then we're gonna make a bouquet garni, which is a wrapped up, ooh, it smells amazing already. So we're gonna put some bay leaves, we're gonna do some parsley or cilantro, and then some fresh thyme. If you go to a Caribbean household in the kitchen, we always have thyme, parsley or cilantro. That's just tools of the trade, okay? Yes. And that. And then we wrap it, and then we throw it in there and take it out at the end. Again, it's about flavor, right? Right here. Like so. That is your bouquet. Like I said, the key in making this soup is in finding the right type of squash. That's why I like to buy the squash in pieces. It's already cut and I can see what the color looks like. And even the color, sometimes it looks good, but the texture is not buttery. So that's why we used to always have that frozen pack, but I don't have that. I don't think I've looked for it to see if they have frozen squash. And somebody would say pumpkin soup. It's not pumpkin. This is not pumpkin. This is squash, okay? You throw it in there. How can that not taste good with all that flavoring, right? And when you roast the squash, it just makes it taste better. I can't explain to you why, but the roasting does its magic. And I also have the rest of that from the apio, the celery. I'm not going to throw that away because it's good. So this soup, on January 1st, every Haitian household has soup Joumou. I don't care if you're in France, I don't care if you're in Russia, everybody's gonna try to do a version of it. My brother, who's married to a French woman from Lyon, and then he lives in New York City. He used to, after I post my soup, he's like, "Oh my God, some soup!" And I'm like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" He said he was gonna go to some kind of restaurant and find it, but now he says he can make his own. I'm so proud of him. So I'm putting a little bit of acid in the water. It keeps the potato from oxidizing. If you don't do that, the potato is gonna turn brown on you. It's gonna be discolored. I'm sure you've seen that, right? Yes. When you're cooking, it's all about physics, okay? It's physics. Like I said, the only thing I'm missing are the radishes and the turnips. I think I saw turnips once somewhere. I can't remember where. I'm sure if I went to Foodie, no, I didn't see it at Foodie. I can't remember where I saw it. But, there are certain things you're not going to find easily here in Panama. Like, if I go to Super 99, I know I'm never going to find Brussels sprouts and cauliflower because that's not part of their diet. But I know if I go to Reba Smith, I have a chance of finding it there. So I don't want the potatoes to be too small, so we're gonna do large dices. I know. It's good when I sing that Scotch bonnet. No, you're fine. Don't be scared. Listen, that Scotch bonnet, it's the flavor. It comes from the skin. And when you taste it, you taste the flavor of that Scotch bonnet. If you open it, yes, you're going to get the heat. But if you don't get at all. No heat whatsoever. Yeah, I know this lady. She makes chicken wing recipes. I think she used to call herself the Wing Diva. But let me tell you, she was very particular. She would go to Sam's and get the best wings. And let me tell you, her wings were amazing. And she had over a dozen different recipes for her wing sauces. Yeah. I think she opened a restaurant somewhere down south. I don't know if it's still there. But we toyed with the idea of her and I doing something at my cafe, but it didn't. Let me tell you, it's not easy to be in business with people because you really have to be of the same mindset. And when I had my home care agency, I was like, knowing me, how picky I am about things, I don't think I would do well in a partnership. Because if one person is working hard and the other one is not, then you're going to have problems, and then you make an enemy, and it's like, oh, that's too much. I don't need that. That's why right now, if I were to do any businesses, I'm not hiring people. Oh my God, the problem is in the people. You have a group and you have drama. It's not even work. You don't do like personalities and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, you know what? I am too old. I don't want to deal with that anymore. No, ma'am. All right. So we got our potatoes. So I'm going to time the potatoes. I'm going to put them at the same time as the okra because I think they're going to cook about the same time. See, you being a scientist because you're looking at time, okay? Because you want everything to come out about the same time, and you don't want anything to be, overcooked. Because sometimes you're looking at some soup, and it's like big old hodgepodge of madness. And I know we don't want to criticize, but what I'm doing is based on years and years of practice. Okay, so don't feel like if you see, I can smell that Scotch bonnet in here. So don't feel like I'm criticizing. This is just practice. Practice makes perfect. Ooh, smells amazing. And of course, January 1st, I'm gonna have to make another pot, okay? I'm doing this for you guys because we're talking about fall and we want to do something that is, mm, yeah. I'm gonna put some paprika, and because it's for me, I have some ahi jumbo, that's kind of red pepper flakes. Ahi jumbo, they tell me it's Scotch bonnet, but it's not. It doesn't taste like Scotch bonnet. I'm gonna put some adobo, and I've been putting turmeric in everything because turmeric is good for you. It's an additive, and I'm not doing a smoothie. So, and cumin. I'm in love with cumin these days. I put cumin in anything except rice and eggs. I'm doing this because the texture of my liquid is just about where I want it, because I don't want it to be too thick, and I do have other things I need to add, so I got to make sure I season. A little bit more adobo. And we're gonna, I'll put the acid at the end. Remember, I always say you put the acid at the end. Oh, it looks amazing. Woo. And then you want broth, right? Because it's your soup. Now, when I was growing up, some people used to put, serve a side of rice, just like here. When you get the sancocho soup, they always say arroz. They're always offering you a side of white rice. I'm like, no, thank you. But you can have some rice on the side. And if you were to go to the Dominican Republic, their soup probably looks like this. And you know how they do it? They'll take some of that squash, they cook it in here, and then they smash it on the side just to thicken it. We just did it a different way. Look at that. Look at that. All right, a couple more minutes, and then we'll add our potatoes and the okra. It's getting there, it's getting there, it's getting there. Yes. All right, we have our potatoes ready. I am chopping this. Oh my goodness, I got to chop the cabbage. Oh, I need to put the cabbage in. Oh, you cannot have that soup in Lord for you. That would not work. All right, I'm gonna put the cabbage in now. This is something else I love. You know, I can do a pot of squash, cabbage, carrots, and I'm good. I'm in heaven. And I bought berenjena, which is the aubergine, the eggplant. And when I do that, it becomes a ratatouille. Yes. Amazing. And I've even added some broccoli to mine. You can. But you know, it's like if I were to talk to somebody here in Panama for their sancocho, they don't put a bunch of things in it. The sancocho is a really brothy soup. And they say, this guy told me, he said, the classic sancocho is just chicken, nyame, which is a type of yam, culantro, and oregano. He said, that's all we put in our soup. I'm like, ooh, thank you for telling me. I certainly don't want to mess, the culture. But if you go to different parts of the country, some people put corn, some people put carrots, and I don't mind doing that. The Dominicans put carrots, corn, and Jamaicans put corn in their soup. if you see corn in a soup, it's not Haitian. It's probably from the DR, from Puerto Rico or Jamaica. We don't put corn in our soups. Just culture, that's all. Nothing wrong. It's not wrong or anything like that. We just don't do that. In greens, I love whatever sauce of the green, put it in. You don't want to chop it too thin. Okay? So I'm going to throw that in here. How can this not be good for you? Huh? Come on. They call sancocho the hangover soup too. So after a party, and you know, at home on December 31st, you know, we go to parties and stuff. And then the ladies would start making this soup like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So that by the time it's 6 o'clock, that soup is done. And we used to go to church. You would go to church, you know, New Year's Eve. And when you're coming home at about 6 o'clock, you have a bowl of soup waiting for you. And then we used to have these hot pate, we call them. It was like a pastry with some meat. It's kind of like an empanada, but better. Much better. Because the dough is different. The dough is a pâte feuilletée with the layers. It's very flaky. Oh, I used to go to church with my grandmother. There was a church service at 4 o'clock in the morning. Who does that? 4 o'clock. My grandmother used to wake me up at 3. Maggie, you want to come? Let's go. Yeah, sure, Grandma. I didn't care to go to church with her, but after church, she would stop at one of those corners, and the ladies were selling the hot pâtés. That's why I went to church with her. Oh my God, so many nice memories I have of my family in my growing up years. Yeah. All right. We are almost done. I am going to put the potatoes in here now, because you know these potatoes won't take any time. After 5 minutes, I'm done. I'm going to throw my, now they don't usually put the oil. This is my version, okay? So please don't come at me and saying, why are you putting that? All right, this is my version. I'm just asking for forgiveness right now. All right, so I can put those away. We don't need any of this. Repollo, peppers, garlic, don't need any of that. I mean, one soup I can make. I have all kinds of stuff. You know, they tell you, someone can tell how healthy you are by looking in your fridge and your pantry, right? Mm-hmm. So if we see a bunch of pre-packaged stuff, you know, it's like, oh, yep, she's in that. And the reason I'm putting the okra is because I don't want it to go bad. I looked for that thing for so long. Oh, look at that. Oh, my God. Look at that, you guys. My goodness. Wow. So we don't need to put anything else in this soup. We don't need bread. We don't need anything. Yeah, you could decide to have some bread on the side with this. But look at this pot of goodness. OMG. Wow. Okay. Woo! I don't think I'll have room to put too much of the pasta. Just a little bit. Wow. I think I'm putting a little bit of soy sauce. No mucho. And I'm gonna chop a little bit of jalapeno just for me because I need a little bit heat. You don't need to do that. I like a little bit of heat. And remember, with your jalapeno, the heat is in the seeds, or whatever pepper you have. The heat is in the seeds. So, and then at the end, I will add the acid. I'm gonna squeeze lemon juice or lime juice. This is jalapeno for me. Only for me, only for me. Yes. Well, I did good. I didn't cough at all today. Talking to you folks. I did not eat one whole, so that's good. And then we have to decide what we are going to serve it in. I think my pretty blue bowl would work. Yes, we're gonna put in our pretty blue bowl. Yes. Ooh-wee. So pretty. It worked out for me because I moved to Texas to go to the cordon bleu. Okay, great. You know what? Let me tell you, cordon bleu is cordon bleu, you know, the blue, but they really got their act together. I remember when we got there, we had to buy the knife, you know, the bag with everything in it, and they gave us a book, and I think the book it talks all about all the soups and all that they do, and from the one of the original chefs that started the school. It was amazing. I was really proud to be part of that group. And to this date, I enjoy that. I remember I still have my my diploma. And then I took a class at the International Culinary Institute in New York City. And I spent 2 or 3 weeks there. I found a long stay hotel in New York City. That was before my brother lived there. I probably would have still done it. And then I stayed close to the International Culinary Institute. It closed. It has closed now, just like the cordon bleu schools have closed as well. So I just got out, you know, got my training just in time. And I made all the pastries, croissant, bagels, focaccia. We gotta make a focaccia. You know, I stay away from bread because bread and I just don't do well. I swell up, and like I said, I feel like I'm what is it, gluten sensitive now? Yes, Joel, listen. I don't know, I have my sisters in the building. But you know what? The pumpkin is an acquired taste. Not everybody would want pumpkins, not pumpkin, but squash. People call it pumpkin, but it's not pumpkin. But some people may not, you know, enjoy it. So, all right, I'm just gonna finish here, let you guys see the finished product. Look at this. Ooh-wee. My goodness. Listen. Play with your food, ladies. Play with your food. All right, we need a couple of minutes on the potatoes. Oh my God, it looks so pretty. I'm so happy with the way it came out. Listen. All right, we still need a little, maybe I need salt. I haven't put any salt in it. Now we're gonna squeeze some acid. We need acid, okay? Acid is a stabilizer, so you want to finish your food with a splash of, you know, fresh lemon or lime juice, it just brings it all together. I promise you. Now see, it's not too thick, and you have enough liquid, which is what I wanted. And then when you ask me, how much water do you need to put? Oh, it's hard for me to say. You know, if it was too thick right now, if you were to add water right now, you would mess the whole thing up. You would never get that taste back by diluting it. Okay. Okay. I think I just need a little bit of salt. Sea salt, which is not too salty. I think I need a little bit more acid. All right, so now I am just putting a few pieces of the penne. And once I turn my thing off, I'm gonna add a few strings of the angel hair. You have to put that in there because that's part, ooh, too much. That is part of the recipe. All right, otherwise it wouldn't be soupe Joumou, so we're done. No mas. I think I need more acid, okay. Woo. And of course, I don't want the penne to be overcooked. So you want it al dente. So I'm talking 2 minutes in here. Because when I finish and I put the lid on, it's gonna continue a little bit of that cooking. Oh, but it looks so good. I'm so excited. Wow. Okay. Perfect. I think I've achieved what I was looking for, okay? That's why you have to play with your food. Play with the taste. Taste, taste, taste. And then add. All right. And then when it's about done, I'm just gonna put one piece of that angel hair. Some people just use plain spaghetti, but it's just too thick. We're gonna put only one of these, okay? But because they cook so fast, we put it towards the end.